What if there were no mobile carriers, no Verizon, no AT&T, and all phone calls and text messages were handled on the blockchain? It's an abstract idea, but I want to talk about it today. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Jeremy here, and if you want to follow along my journey as I build wealth, then subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And remember, none of this is financial advice. I am just a guy on a computer talking into a camera. So let's get to it. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and mainly just because of, one, privacy issues. You know, blockchain solves a lot of privacy issues. And the other piece of that is just censorship. We have been in this, at least in the United States, and I'm sure around the world, you've seen companies that have just been censored to death, it feels like, just because somebody doesn't like their message, they want to just shut them down and not allow them to speak. Well, I'm a big proponent of freedom of speech and the idea that everybody has a right to say whatever they want. You may not like it, but as long as it doesn't hurt you, it's not inciting violence in the sense of screaming bomb in the middle of a crowded theater or fire or something like that. I grew up with the adage of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And it is true even to this day, whether the world wants to accept that or not. And so my thought is just talking around communication. You look at apps that have been kicked off of Android and Apple's app platform, app stores, or you look at the recent effects of Parler being kicked off of Amazon's web services. Now we know there's projects like Holochain that are coming out that will solve some of those cloud service issues or censorship issues that are out there by moving data onto the blockchain. But you think about communications and text messages and push notifications, a lot of that stuff still requires and relies on Apple and Android in order for them to work. I'm an app developer. I've built apps, and phone conversations and push messaging. If we think about moving telephones onto the blockchain, you have to have the ability to basically ping a device to say, hey, you're getting a phone call or you're getting a text message, or in the case of apps, to say, here's a notification, something just happened on the app. And so I've been thinking about this idea of how could you move the entire phone system, all these spam calls that we get because people are spoofing phone numbers, that could essentially go away on blockchain because you can't spoof. You either have the private key or you don't. And I found this morning, and I find it quite interesting. And it's talking about the world's first blockchain phone that's secure and decentralized to its core. This was this was written in September of 2019, but it says, I guess I need to do a little more research to see if this is actually a thing now. But it says the first blockchain phone call took place last October, so that would have been October of 2018. Is that right? Yep. With a prototype developed by Function X, and it's a phone dubbed Bob, which stands for block on block. It's supposedly compatible with Android 9, and essentially the way that it works, it basically has its own operating system called Function X or FX, and you can switch between blockchain mode or I guess Android mode would be the other part. It says when a user sends a text message or makes a call using Bob, block on block, the message or the call is transmitted through the blockchain rather than a centralized mobile carrier. This gives users complete control and ownership over their data and saves costs by cutting out the middleman. So you think about that, is all of these telephone companies have really built their whole entire business on basically being the middleman that's able to connect people's phone calls and messages. You send the message to them, they route it to the right place. They're basically just a big network routing. But blockchain has the functionality, the ability to replace all that. And if you think about that, a lot of spying that the government does on its people and other people around the world is because all of these messages and phone calls go through a central repository somewhere which is where they ingest all that and store it in these massive data warehouses. Well, if that was all on the blockchain, there would be no central location where they could ingest all of that, and even if they did, it would be encrypted. It says that Bob runs independently without the need of centralized service provider. Phone calls and messages are routed via blockchain node without the need for phone numbers. Once a Bob, I guess the block-on-block phone, is registered on the network by a user named Leonard. If someone wants to access Leonard's publicly shared data or content, they just enter blah blah blah.Leonard. It's a similar to traditional HTTPS. So basically you would have your own unique address on the blockchain. Sort of like a phone number, but more of like a URL. Leonard's friends would like to contact them. They can call, text, or email his Bob phone by simply entering call or message or mail Leonard. Data is transmitted through an exchange of public and private key encryption over the blockchain. I just think that this is the future. This is where things are going to go. Again, I have not done very much in-depth study or research on this. As the world's first truly decentralized phone, Bob represents an important development in the evolution of the internet. All right, so I find this interesting. They're talking about how a traditional HTTP request goes through and how it can essentially be blocked because they can just deny that access. But with function XTP, which must be their protocol, you get a response from a node, and it basically, sort of like a mesh network. So if you lose one connection, it can bounce through multiple nodes to get to your target node. FXTP and NNS allows every block to be broadcast and propagated freely to the final destination, eliminating the possibility of interception or a single point of failure. I'm going to do more research on this, but I thought that this was interesting, and it looks like they even have an FX coin, which I'm going to do a little bit more research on. And I think that this is the future. I think that freedoms, we have seen that governments have little desire to protect freedoms. At least in this country, we're losing freedoms every day. And the solution is going to be technology, and technology is going to restore those freedoms through products like this that allow basically no ability for spying and decentralizes everything, removes these companies that can just lock things down. I'll likely be releasing a Patreon before too long. If you want to know about that whenever I release it, there's a link in the description. You can sign up for a crypto email list. Go do that. But listen, if you like these videos, please like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it with a friend. I've got another video starting over here. Go check that one out, and I'll see you over there.